Hey, if you don't know who I am, I'm a top 30 solo queue tank player in Squadra. I mostly play Vegeta and Cooler, and I'm making a guide because he is very unpopular in high ranks and competitive play. I've been specializing in Vegeta and winning a lot, so I feel like I can give some valuable information. Here's the guide. Explaining the usage of his skills. The way his passive works is if you get below 50%, he'll scream and give himself somewhere around 20% cooldown reduction for a few seconds. You never have to think about this passive because it's very hard to activate on purpose without feeding, and you won't notice it very often, but it does help. Vegeta also has a unique quirk where he has the most armor of all the tanks. If you're at full HP including armor and your armor runs out, you will be at 50%. Making it easy to track your passive, and this massive amount of armor also plays into the rest of your kit. Skill 1 is your bread and butter. It's what makes you way tankier than the rest of the cast because it gives you armor regen for each hit, and it's on an insanely low cooldown. You want to be using this basically whenever you can if you're farming or fighting. Get really good at tracking your enemies with this skill, because it is not easy to aim sometimes. And use this to poke barriers off of anyone you want to fight. For the future, when you hear armor regen in his kit, it means it regens the lighter part of his health bar, which is exclusive to tanks and called armor, not his darker, real health bar. Skill 2 is probably the skill that most people disagree on the usage of. Personally, I think skill 2 is great for forcing people into your Rildo, for your Rildo Big Bang combo, or it's great for getting somebody where you want them, because it's not very strong as a traditional CC, because people can just walk out of it or dash out of it most of the time, but the initial pull is very strong, and it's great for poking people's barriers out, or even canceling their flight. Canceling flight makes it even more useful as an escape cooldown, because it lets you fly away while they can't fly after you. In general, throw it at someone you want to stand still, and shoot Big Bang if you want to commit, or skill 1 at them most of the time. A good thing to do when surrounded is to skill 2 and Big Bang right on top of yourself to pull everyone in and get massive regen and damage for Big Bang. Skill 3 is probably the second most clutch skill in his kit next to Big Bang. The reason why this skill is so strong level 1 is because it recovers armor, but it activates the armor recovery depending on how many people you hit. So if you hit a topo, and any enemy that can take damage at the same time, you will activate the health recovery twice. So if you know how to position and trade next to minions in lane, this skill can turn your weak early game into a lead, or fully heal your armor in a very important moment. Try not to use this inside Big Bang, since the regen for Big Bang should be enough to keep you alive, and you can accidentally push people out of it, completely stopping the regen. Get comfortable with the range, and don't overestimate the heal. Vegeta is extremely immobile, so this will not get you out of a bad situation unless you position properly. His super attack, Big Bang, is key to enabling Vegeta's fist fighting playstyle because it gives you even more staying power and gives you the damage you need in fights. You also gain armor recovery on each hit of it, and it does more damage towards the end of its hits, so the armor recovery will be higher the more people are in it, just like skill 3. And if you use it too predictably, people will just walk out of it and not fight you inside your Big Bang. And at low levels, this ability is very small for an ultimate, 90-second cooldown the whole way through, and easy to walk out of or even miss. So Rildo will be key for landing Big Bang at level 1 and 2. Do not waste this ultimate. Use it when you can. Do something off of it, like damaging a tower, taking a tower, or zoning a boss. Defending. Don't pop Big Bang just to die in a 1v4 and achieve nothing. Now to talk about his skill priority. You need to get skill 1 maxed out immediately because the explosions you gain on max give you a lot more armor regen and damage. For level 3, you're going to unlock skill 2 and skill 3 because skill 3 gives you big sustain and skill 2 gives you a way to pull enemies into you and threaten the steal on the Kai or the 3 cell juniors that spawn. Level 4, you unlock skill 1 to have a point in it. Level 5, you unlock ult. Level 6, put another point in skill 1. And level 7, don't put a point in anything. Wait until level 8, and then max your skill 1 and put a point into Big Bang. Then for the rest of the match, max your ultimate whenever you can, then max skill 2, then max skill 3. The reasoning you don't max skill 3 first is because skill 2 is very weak at low levels, and skill 3 is good even at level 1, late game. It's good for the whole game. Now for his divine cards. Right now the build is the same every single game. You go build up first, because his health regen means nothing without damage reduction, and as we know right now, build up is around 20% damage reduction at max. If you don't run this card, you will lose health faster than you regen it, and the reasoning for this over the snowball barrier builds you see on every other character in the game is because Vegeta wants to fight for a long time, and barrier is only active for 2 seconds. Meanwhile, this card is active for the entire game once you get it, and Vegeta is the tankiest character in the game, so he can build damage and be fine as long as he has a consistent source of damage reduction. He actually needs damage because without it, he's not really a threat. Second card is very simple. It's Giant Slayer because it's a 20% damage boost, and it's comparable to Snowball, which is a 25% damage boost. Giant Slayer also doesn't have any stacks that you have to keep, and it's active for the entire fight. It mostly is useful because it gives him the damage he needs to be a threat. Third card is Pursuer because Limit Breaking Jump gives him mobility to escape, but he instead needs mobility to chase people because he doesn't have trouble staying alive, and his biggest weakness is how easy he is to kite. The skill 2 and skill 1 combo giving you a massive movement speed buff to chase people down is huge. This card is a must-have for Vegeta. Now to talk about the most misunderstood part, his playstyle. Vegeta is an extremely selfish, immobile juggernaut that brings almost nothing to a laning phase except being a massive wall of HP and securing the 3 Cell Juniors in the middle of the lane. But he scales and becomes very good at split pushing, and he's also very useful for defending towers because of how good he is in 1v4s. Early game, you have really weak CC, and you're going to go up against CC monsters like Cooler, Caulifla, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, which force you to play safe and prioritize secure and farm, or your partner will get pressured by the enemy tank. So he is significantly better with Super Start, which allows you to max skill 1 at spawn, and arguably makes him one of the best tanks in the game early if you do manage to get this draw. How Vegeta wants to play the early game is to try your best to leverage your health with skill 3 and use skill 2 to help secure Kai and Cell Juniors. If you're confident, you can sit on top of the Kai or wait for them to start hitting it, use skill 2 to group the enemies up with the Kai, then when you get to 50%, use skill 3 to get your armor back, and your DPS should do the rest of the work. Anybody smart or experienced with the matchup will just walk past you and run down your DPS, and there's not much Vegeta can do about this other than save skill 2, as it's his only form of CC. So as a general rule, you shouldn't autopilot skill 2 at the start of every Kai fight if your DPS cannot defend themselves. Someone like Kale, Trunks, or Bojack with either no mobility or ridiculously low HP fits this criteria. When you don't need to or can't split push, you should be farming and defending because he doesn't have a very strong crowd control, which makes his team fighting horrible. But if a full team decides to push a tower, Vegeta can usually defend it for really long, and his stat checking nature also requires that you farm because you need to be above or at the same level as whoever you're fighting. Usually you won't be the only one split pushing in the whole match, so it's worth protecting a tower that's open while an objective fight is happening if you can't hit a tower. When you get max skill 1, and even during the first objective fight, you should be using your superior health and regen to hit towers and farm, because you are one of the most useless characters in the game in teamfights. All you bring is big HP bar and one short crowd control cooldown with tons of counterplay. You will get ignored in teamfights and do nothing unless you can help your DPS secure kills, or you're very ahead, which neither of those are guaranteed. Vegeta's kit is much more effective when someone is forced to fight you because of his insane sustain and 1v1 power. And the only way to force someone to fight you is to be Caulifla or hit their tower, which he can do because of his massive health bar and regen. The key to hitting towers and staying alive is awareness of where the enemy team is and how strong they are in comparison to you. A lot of the times, a good Vegeta will force the enemy to bring 2 people instead of 1 to stop him from taking a tower. In situations like that, staying alive will waste the enemy team's time massively, so always be aware and remember you have literally 0 mobility, which makes your positioning probably the most important out of the entire tank role. The absolute most important thing on Vegeta is to put out pressure on the map while objectives are up or while team fights are happening without dying. Your main draw is your sustain, and you can't sustain if you're dead. Generally, this character is very well suited for any kind of play. Solo queue, he's a good option because games don't end as fast, so you're allowed to scale. And people don't snowball off your trash early game. And for team play, he's also allowed to scale as long as neither lane is losing too hard. And higher level play really appreciates someone that completely invalidates backdoors. No matter what, as long as one lane doesn't lose too hard, you will scale and you will push. Now to talk about his weaknesses. He is very weak to your team getting snowballed because he can 1v4 effectively, but not if he's behind. Which is why it's very important to never be behind on farm if you want to exist in the match. And his mobility is non-existent outside of universal mechanics, which makes him have to deal with whatever situation he puts himself into, and he can't escape. And another weakness you'll run into is he gets outranged very badly by a lot of meta characters right now, which doesn't help his already weak team fighting. And in my opinion, his last weakness is complete inflexibility in the way that he wants to win a game. He will do 1 or 2 things in a game, and he has very little ways to approach a situation aside from hitting a tower or fighting someone. That's it for the guide. Vegeta is a very simple character with surprising depth and great for beginners to learn how to position and win a game on tank. If you have any further questions or feel like I didn't explain something, ask me and I'll probably answer. If you liked the video, like, comment, subscribe, do it all if you want more, and I will be back with more gameplay and guides. For now, have some gameplay to see what my tips look like in action. Until next time.
こうしてドラゴンボールを手に入れろ。
先に帰るぞ。
いいゲームだったよ。
俺がナンバーワンだ。